welcome back to WRPL, the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Ooh, today, do we have a good one? Maybe a good topic, but a good movie? I guess that's open for your own opinion. Today we're talking about Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections. Nothing else today because... we got shit to do. It's Christmas Eve, and we got
Merry Christmas, by the way.
Oh yeah, ho ho ho! Merry Christmas, Steve. So as always, spoilers for anything that could ever possibly exist in the world. So This is your one warning, but we're probably mainly going to be talking about the Matrix. So
we're spoiling William Shakespeare across the board,
and the Bible. So
yep.
If you're behind on that, pause this, read the Bible, come back.
Amen.
Alright, first things first. I rewatched all the Matrix movies.
Did you really?
In preparation for this, yes. The Matrix is a absolute amazing A+, fantastic movie. And I was really excited to watch the sequels, especially the third one. That's the one I haven't seen as much. And I remember hating these movies. They shit so much on the first movie, but I actually really love the sequels now. I think they work. They're not maybe the story I would have told, but they're very interesting. And I think with as much time has passed, they really hold up. Do you like the sequels at all? Do you remember the sequels at all?
So I remember the third one more, I think, than Reloaded.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I think mainly because being the young 13-year-old I was when I saw it, I was just like, oh, cool. Like, open war with machines.
Yeah.
This is
mech
cool.
battles.
Yeah. Because the only thing I really remember from Reloaded is the chase sequence across the highway.
Well, it is like 45 minutes of that movie. It is like the longest sequence. I was very surprised at how long it goes.
I remember that part and the fact that there's like two ghost albino Rastafarian dudes. That's about it.
The architect and Trinity dying. Anyhow.
But I've always liked the sequels from what I remember. I know that a lot of Matrix fans don't really care for them. Especially after how great the first one is. But I was always in the camp that was just like, nah, don't you guys are talking about it. They're totally fine. I understand if they don't live up to the first, but I always thought they were fun.
Yeah.
A little bit convoluted.
Yeah, they definitely go bigger on the theories and themes of what it is to be in the Matrix and stuff like that, instead of just like being a cool action movie. But it still has really cool action. I love most of it. It's a shame Neo kind of takes a backseat in the third movie, and you're left with a bunch of characters you don't give a shit, like the kid and the generals and the council and like Niobe, which nobody really cares about them. Like you care about Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus, and they all kind of are part of almost like the B story. It seems like. Yeah. But we're not talking about the old Matrix movies. We're talking about the new Matrix movies. The sequel / reboot / remake / spoof. It's like everything you would... I don't want to say everything you want, but it's like anything you could do that they try to do. It's just so crammed with stuff that it can be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing I'll say about this movie, it's a movie that has ideas.
It sure does.
Quite a few, and that's its biggest accomplishment and biggest detriment as well.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of ideas.
Yeah. So
some are kind of neat, some I don't really care about.
Yeah, I agree. I was really into this movie for the first 45 minutes. I was on board. I didn't know what the hell was going on, especially with all the new Morpheus and Bug. Is it Bug or Bugs?
Bugs.
All that stuff.
Like Bugs Bunny.
Yes. I didn't quite understand what they were getting at with a lot of stuff, but when it came to Neo and his life, I was like, this is fun. This is kind of interesting. And I know it's like meta on top of meta, but it was really I don't want to say interesting again, but it was really interesting.
It was a really unique take on the franchise.
Sure, and it wasn't just going to be another reboot, which if any movie should be able to reboot itself, it's The Matrix. I mean, that's what The Matrix does. So this is a franchise where you can constantly keep rebooting and keep doing the same story if you wanted to, but they didn't want to do that, and I totally understand why you wouldn't. But maybe that's the way they should have gone.
Yeah. By the time this movie was over, I was just like, okay, this is Star Wars: The Force Awakens for the Matrix universe.
It's like Ghostbusters.
It takes almost the same exact beats from the first movie, but it's just the new and improved, in quotation marks, version of it.
Yeah.
It's the first Matrix 2.0, essentially. Because it's about Neo living his normal life and feeling, out of place, and then he follows a pretty woman with a white rabbit tattoo into the Matrix, and has wise Morpheus kind of awaken his mind, and then faces off against Agent Smith and tries to become the one again. Yeah, essentially. Which
I didn't like any of that, mostly. I'm going to say right off the bat, this movie sucks. This is a bad movie. I gave it a D+ for effort and ideas, but it is an incredibly boring and stupid story. I don't like any of the new characters, and I don't understand why this was the story that they wanted to tell. You can do all types of things, but they wanted to focus on the love story of Neo and Trinity, and their love story is not the most interesting thing about The Matrix. It's actually almost non-existent in that first movie. The only reason you know that they're in love is because she says the Oracle said she would be in love, so she must be. And so that's the weakest part of the first movie, but it works a lot better in the sequels. You really can tell that they love each other. Yeah. And I think maybe it's the 4-minute rave sex scene, towards the beginning that sells it. But that is not why people were showing up. They want, crazy bullet time, I know kung fu, fighting agents and stuff, not a love story that breaks the Matrix, which I don't get. I don't get that. Why did they have to remake Neo and Trinity? Why did they have to bring their bodies back to life to put them in? But you can't keep them too close, but you can't keep them really far. You got to keep them at pretty good distance in order for what? Do you remember?
I'm sure they explained it, and this is just the problem with The Matrix and traditionally hard sci-fi kind of movies, because The Matrix, I would argue, is hard sci-fi. Is it kind of is easy to forget or just breeze over what the point is of certain things, and I imagine they let Neo live because he was too maybe he was just a great battery power, or they're just or in order to keep Smith and other machines in line, because there was a brief shot of the machine war, they were all right, well, let's hold on to this guy just in case kind of thing. And then when you have Trinity, you needed both of them to if he can't survive without her, so they bring her it's very weak reasoning. But I'm okay, fine. I think the love story is actually one of the things that works the most in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. Their chemistry and everything, when they're on screen, it's really good, but I don't want this story.
Sure, yeah, okay. I can agree with that. Yeah, I like those two together, and I think that typically I don't love the love conquers all thing, but I think it works for this. And I like that she sort of becomes the one too at the end. I mean, it's not something it's not something I needed to see, but if you're doing like this, our love is gonna help us save something, it's fine. But
what are they saving? Okay, by the end of Matrix 3, the humans and the robots have made peace, and the robots will allow the humans to release anybody from the Matrix who's wanting to go, but anybody who doesn't gets to stay and keeps powering the machines, and it's harmony. And then we kind of throw that out because Neil Patrick Harris
is the new head of the program.
Yeah, is he kind of like, did he take over for the architect? I don't understand why there's any conflict going right now. We have like a peace agreement, so what's going on? I'm so confused with this movie. It doesn't seem to want to follow its own rules from the previous movies. It's just like, well, people expect an Agent Smith, and they expect a bad guy, and they expect bullet time and stuff, so we have to do that, instead of going, well, let's tell a story that's necessary, because this story is not necessary for the Matrix.
Yes, that's the thing. Does this movie need to exist? Absolutely not.
No.
And you have spoiled me when you showed me the Animatrix, because
that's all you want now.
That's
right?
all I want now is give me the prequel movie to the Matrix. Like that's the interesting story. Yeah, a robot uprising is something we've seen before, but I don't think we've seen it in this way. And so just rehashing essentially the scenes from the first movie over and over again, it just, what did you add to the story? Now that being said, like all the lore, everything outside of Matrix, I've found pretty interesting. Like I wanted to see more of the city, although I found it indistinguishable from Zion, other than clouds in the sky. Like if you told me that was Zion, I'd be like, oh, cool, sure. Like they added clouds. So.
Yeah, it's like 60 years later, and they have an atmosphere down there now. Whatever, who cares?
And I like that the robots or some of the machines have teamed with the humans, and I liked the sort of nano floating
pin art looking sort of thing. Yeah.
I think that and that's one of the cool ideas of this movie. It's just like, okay, like there's unity, they're working together, they're building strawberries, there's this internal conflict with the humans where like some want to release more people from the Matrix and some are just focusing on like, well, let's grow crops and stuff, like let's rebuild what we have as opposed to worrying about like these battery people and worrying about the one. Like let's just continue the human race. And then you have the internal conflict of the machines, which would have been a cool idea, which there's literally one shot of the machines like at war with each other, but you never really understood why. It's just you have the Neil Patrick Harris faction, I guess, that is just like we're doing the remake the Matrix but this way, and the machines that didn't want to do that for whatever reason. And you have the subplot with Agent Smith, who
does not need to be in this movie.
Does not need to be in it, and teams up with Neo, which could typically be a fun thing, but the only reason he teamed up with Neo at the end was because he didn't want to be tethered by this machine, but Agent Smith was already untethered completely he took over a human body at one point in the third movie.
He took over all the human bodies. Like every human body on the planet was a Smith by the end of the movie.
But yeah, in the Matrix. But I mean, like he physically.
Oh yeah, he physically jumped to our world.
To our world, in another human's body. But like there's so many cool ideas, but none of them stayed and like really were fleshed out. Like if you wanted to do a sequel Matrix movie about the war with the machines and what they're going through, or like the human struggle, like there's so many different things you could do, but you're like, no, it'd be fun. What if the Matrix was a video game?
Yeah.
Which I like meta stuff like this sometimes. I think it's best in like comedies because it's like we're supposed to be winking at you. When you do it in especially in a hard sci-fi movie, when you're like winking at the camera, it just makes this like thing that's taken so seriously and so well thought out and like kind of makes it silly.
Sure.
Then you're like taking me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like granted, this is the kind of movie where you could pull some of this shit off. I just don't think it works really well. Like I don't know. I wanted this idea to work. I just don't think it was executed all that well. And maybe that's just because I don't think Keanu Reeves is a very good actor.
No.
I think
he's charismatic and he's fun and
Yeah.
you like watching him, but he's not good.
Yeah. Like, I like him in John Wick, but I like him in John Wick for the action, just like I like him in this for the action.
Yeah.
Like, him emoting is not something I care about. And I think it's, like, his dialogue, too. It's not like... he's fine in this. I'm not shitting on Keanu Reeves, but I think his acting is so boring in the Matrix movies, typically.
Yeah. And even if you go back to some of his classics like Point Break and Speed, he's not... like a bundle of energy and really like chewing the scenery or anything. He's a very subdued actor. So that's why his best role is Bill and Ted's, where he's actually like a character. And then you see the new Bill and Ted's with old Keanu Reeves, who hasn't really been acting to his full extent. I think you can really tell that he kind of sucks.
Yeah. Every time he speaks, I just think of the pizza delivery guy from that Community episode where he's like, "There are other timelines." Like that's how I imagine Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I'll watch Keanu Reeves stuff. Like I love Constantine and a lot of his stuff, but he's just not very good. He's not going to win any awards ever,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's charismatic, and I like Keanu Reeves' movies. It's just weird that I like his movies despite him not being good in essentially any of them.
Yeah, he's kind of like this weird opposite Nick Cage for me. Like Nick Cage makes a bunch of fun movies, but he's not good at all. But the quality levels are just very, very different. Or maybe he's like an opposite Johnny Depp, where I don't like Johnny Depp, but he still makes good stuff. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. This isn't the Keanu podcast.
Yeah. So I took a ton of notes.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna kind of run through some things, and we'll just chat about the stuff. Same opening as before, which was a little fun. At first I rolled my eyes. It's just like, oh my god, here we go. This is gonna be the whole movie. We're just redoing the classic things, but it kind of made sense. It just didn't look as great. It's weird that a movie that is so much older just doesn't look as good as something from the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some special effects from the original that look bad. Like, kids could do this in Microsoft Paint.
There's a TikTok filter or something.
Yeah, like all the, the original bullet time shot, iconic shot, but it looks like garbage today. And then it just has this big budget movie sheen over it, which even the sequels from 2002 and 2003 don't have. They're still very clean, but there's some special effects, and I'm just like, man, this looks like this is cheap. This is bad. It's and it shouldn't be.
And I think they wanted to use a lot more wire work and stuff, and not rely on CG doubles for fight scenes. But it is the cheapest looking wire work. It's really, I wrote down, it's beautiful and cheap. There's a lot of good looking stuff, but you can tell it's not anywhere close to how amazing the original trilogy looks. And I think some of it is because there's a lot of natural light when you're in the Matrix, and you don't have that greenish look. I know this is like an updated version, but it just didn't look like the Matrix. This almost looked like the TV show version. Like they made Matrix the series.
Right. That's
what this would look like. And okay, I guess you kind of got the bullet time, and I guess you did some of the wire work, but it's not movie quality, but I guess it's good enough because it's just TV. But this is a movie. This is a big budget movie, and it does not look great. Let's see. Okay, extracting a program. Let's talk about quote-unquote Morpheus in here. So we have an agent who becomes self-aware, who takes the blue pill, and is able to come to the real world through nanobot pin art. Okay? How are agents not self-aware? They're not people living in the world, living out their lives. They're agents, they're programs, they're there to do specific things, hunt down whoever's, messing with the Matrix. They know what's up. They know they're in a simulation. So how is this one waking up and realizing there's more than his life? That's your job. That's what you were made for.
Well, that was my little bit of confusion with the Morpheus character was, I was under the impression that Morpheus, because we know that he became like a leader figure in Zion and everything, and I just assumed he kind of uploaded his conscience into the Matrix in some regard, and then the Matrix made him an agent for whatever reason. It wasn't, they didn't just program an agent and then pop a pill and he would somehow just beat Morpheus. I don't think that made any sense to me. That being said, I don't know if they ever, how they explain that, or if they did. I mean, I like the actor, as we call him, Yahya Sure. I think he'd be a great Morpheus. And I think he does fine in this movie, but also I felt like he was hardly a character. Like, he was very strong in the first 30, 45 minutes. And then there were times that near the end where there would be these big action sequences, and I forget that he was there.
Yeah.
And he would like show up, and I was like, wait, was he with that crew the entire time? It's like they didn't know what to do with him, or he wasn't on set that day, and they just kind of like put him in another shot. I don't know. Like, his existence in the back half of this movie just doesn't seem to have any purpose whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I just...
He didn't.
He didn't need to be here. You could have made this movie without him, and you probably should have, because you shouldn't have to rely on Morpheus, especially since you didn't bring back Lawrence Fishburne anyway. Yeah,
and why is he Morpheus? Morpheus is a person, and he died, and we see a shrine of him. He's not Morpheus's consciousness, right?
See, that's what I thought it was.
He can't be.
But because what else would it be?
It's almost like he was like, well, now that I'm self-aware and I'm part of the real world, I want to be part of this rebellion. Well, I'm going to be Morpheus. I choose that character, and so that's who I'm going to be. Like, but are you?
Yeah, because even if it wasn't Morpheus who uploaded his consciousness, and it was just a random black guy they found in the Matrix, and they're like, we're going to make you Morpheus with this pill because the Matrix has developed the game that has all this knowledge, in which, you know, the machines wouldn't have that knowledge of everything that happened when they weren't in the Matrix. So like there would be no like records of any of that. But anyway, like, let's say they did, and they just uploaded all this information. So they just, by giving this random agent a blue pill, uploaded that information into his brain. Maybe, but that doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it.
So anyway, if you guys understood the movie better than us, or want to do actual research and let us know how any of that works, let us know.
Because we're dumb and superficial people, and we don't get... I've been seeing on Twitter, like, there are people who are loving this movie, and they're like, oh, if you don't like it, it's not for you. You just don't get it. And it's like, no, you're justifying a series you love, so you don't have to say, oh, crap, the people I like actually made something bad, which they do all the time. Like, I love Cloud Atlas, but I can argue that it's not a very good movie. And,
I like Cloud Atlas too.
Jupiter Ascending is dog shit.
Never saw it.
I would rather watch Jupiter Ascending again than this again. Absolutely. This is... I haven't seen Bound, but I would say this is the Wachowski's least...
What the hell is Bound?
It was a movie with Jennifer Tilly, and I think there's a...
Was this like long before The Matrix?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, early to mid-90s. Like Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon in some like sexy lesbian thing to kill a husband or whatever. It's one of their first movies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay, so Yahya Sure should have been... like, if you're going to do a prequel and you're doing young Morpheus and how he woke up... Perfect. Great. Awesome. We don't need a Morpheus for this movie.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to make this Morpheus and Nairobi's son.
Yeah.
You don't need to,
sure.
But sure.
Why not?
It's 60 years later. Could be in his 40s. It could track.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so then we're introduced to Neo, and he's working at his video game company, which this is all the best stuff, I think. The round table where they're talking about like what is the Matrix and what is bullet time, and you know, having to go back and revolutionize everything. I like the meta talk about the conversation. Sure. I think all that is really good, but they don't do anything with it besides going like, yeah, we're pretty aware. Yep. And so one thing about Neo his reflection, I noticed instantly that he had a weird reflection, and I thought he was the architect, and I was like, oh, did the architect in this latest version kind of feel envious of Neo and wanted to live his life with those abilities, so he's hiding with the Neo skin or something? No, he just has a, everybody thinks he's a weird looking dude.
Just part of the program to make him hide from the outside world. When I saw that, it's weird how your brain can like pick up something so quick, but then because it happens so quick, you're just like, well, if the movie just because of movie rules, it's like, if the movie wanted me to like see that, like they would have established it long enough for me to recognize it. So it's like, did I see it? Did I not see it? But I think it. And then when I saw Trinity's reflection also look a little off, I was like, okay, there's something going on.
See, I didn't notice Trinity's reflection.
Yeah, it was on the table when she was drinking coffee. Okay. It was just a real, like, they're both real quick, but I was like, okay.
Speaking of Trinity, I don't like that her name's Tiffany. I think her name should be Trisha, because it's got the T-R-I at least. But I guess,
who really cares?
No, for sure, absolutely. But she doesn't look like a Tiffany. And I know that's a little bit of a joke. She, like, says to the newsmith, like, really? You named me Tiffany? And he's like, silly goose.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was, like, some joke from the original 3 that I was missing, that, like, she said something about Tiffany or something.
No.
Because, I think they kind of do it twice, and it was just like, oh, I thought it'd be funny. And it's like, what's the joke?
Yeah, what's the joke?
The joke is that Trinity and Tiffany, they're just T names, like
T names with 3 syllables, like, and it's funny.
Neo is Tom Anderson. It has nothing to do with
it. Has nothing to do with anything. I think it's like, it's funny because Trinity, what a cool name, and you were a badass bitch, but now we're gonna give you this like dumb name of Tiffany. I guess. All right. Besides the round table being my favorite stuff, I really like the idea of having Neo in the Matrix be psychotic. That he remembers everything, was able to capitalize on it, make a video game, but he truly believes that this stuff is real, and I like that the machines can keep him subdued by giving him medication and having it be in the blue pill. Like, all that's very creative.
Having their leader be his therapist.
Which is kind of obvious from the trailers. Like, you knew something was up with Neil Patrick Harris. Like, he's not just going to be some nice guy. But I hate Neil Patrick Harris in this. I think he's not doing a good job acting. I think he's just playing Neil Patrick Harris, and I don't like this character.
I mean, I don't think he was a bad actor in this, and it seemed like he was having fun, and we don't really get to see Neil Patrick Harris in a villainous role. I didn't feel like he was Neil Patrick Harrising it up. Like, when I think of Neil Patrick Harris stuff, I would think of like Harold and Kumar or How I Met Your Mother, like these zany characters. I don't think he was particularly zany.
He just seemed like he was having like not the actor having fun, but the character was having fun with the slow-mo, and it's like, oh, look, your bullet time ain't shit, and I can just fuck around, and he's just kind of like quipping to himself, and I didn't like any of that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to argue that why would a machine program talk like this at all and like do villain monologues, like, they're machines, who the fuck cares? That's fine. But it of all the things in this movie, Neil Patrick Harris didn't bother me at all.
I mean, it's one of the lower offenders for sure, but I didn't care.
Speaking of offenders, what did you think about Neo's friend in this movie?
Oh, man.
Any of his lines make you laugh?
No. In the first time he showed up, I instantly disliked him. He just rubbed me the wrong way. But I think I kind of warmed up to him when he's trying to introduce Neo to Trinity. But then he's gone after that, and we don't ever really see him again except for like the round table scenes and stuff. But instantly hated this guy, but whatever, it's fine.
And I know that was the point, is he was supposed to be kind of a douchebag character, but yeah, he was not enjoyable to watch in the 3 minutes he was on screen.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the actor for that. I just didn't like that character, and just seemed like a weird sort of best friend character for the most boring guy in the history of cinema to have. Speaking
of characters that have very little screen time, Christina Ricci's in this movie. I totally forgot that she was in this movie.
I saw that and I was like, oh shit, Ben's giving this movie an A.
I was so excited because I remember them casting her, and it was just like, oh, okay, I could see her with the dumb sunglasses and a leather coat and slick back hair doing Matrix stuff. I had no idea what sort of character she was, so she's just this. I guess she works for Warner Brothers, and they're making a Matrix 4 video game because in this, Neo has turned all of his adventures, I guess, into
his life story
and what happened in the real world into like the most popular video game of all time. And she's just kind of a corporate stooge saying like, have fun with it, and let's go back to the Matrix. And I'm gonna say she's my favorite character by default just because she's Christina Ricci, but that hair, and I was very happy to see her in something.
But why?
Why is she there?
Why is she in this movie?
Oh, it was just, it's like it was just a kickoff scene to start the round table meta discussion.
No, I mean,
she's in this because she's in Speed Racer, and that's how she knows
okay.
them. She's Trixie.
That's true.
Let's see. I felt a lot of this movie was kind of played for laughs and almost seemed like a spoof of itself.
Yeah.
I wish I wrote down more for that so I know exactly what scene I'm referencing to, but yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, it's like when they walk through into the movie theater or whatever it is, and like the original movie is playing over them while they're like
doing the same scene.
It's like it's both kind of cool that this is happening, but at the same time it's just like you're doing a scene essentially from the first movie literally on top of the scene from the first movie.
I think that's why when I wrote this down,
this is, it's so hard for me to say I dislike it because it's such an interesting concept, but it's just also so ridiculous that I just can't love it.
I know why I don't like it, because that footage they said is footage from his game. Like, why does it look so nice? Like, I know video games look good, but no video games look that real. Why not reshoot those scenes with either other actors or use video game effects and just recreate that scene? Because I don't believe that his video game is just the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's not how video games work. I thought it was like, this is essentially a cutscene from the game, but this is the real version of it. Like, this is the true version, not the game version. That's what I took from it.
And if that's the case, show me the game version. We don't see the game at all.
It would have cost too much money.
They just released a Matrix video game like this week. They were making it at the same time. I'd use footage from Path of Neo or Enter the Matrix, the old PS2 games. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. Once again, very thin, but yeah, it's a weird, for lack of a better term. I feel like I've just been saying weird about all of this. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I just wrote down fuck, exclamation point. Did Neo say like fuck in a really weird way?
He does say fuck.
Oh, it's when Bugs I think takes him back or takes him into the Matrix. He's like gonna kill himself or whatever. And she walks in and he just goes like, fuck. And it's just like a really bad line read. And he comes off really weird in this because he's not the one hacker dude. He is this person who thinks he's a crazy person. So I did like when Yaya Sure shows up at his work, he's just kind of like flipping out. And I can see if you saw that scene out of context, you could be like, oh, Keanu Reeves is a bad actor. But I really liked him in that because he really does think he's a crazy person being confronted by someone that's from his video game.
Yep.
and I think that video game aspect really could have been like played up. Like, it's harder for the people of Zion to release people in the Matrix because of this new version is stronger or whatever. So maybe the only way they can even plant the seed is to do it through the game. So all these really hardcore gamers who are obsessed with it, they're able to convince those people to come to the real world more than any casual player. something,
Yeah.
but it's like the fact that he had a video game, and it's not even a VR thing. You would think when you have to like get jacked into the Matrix, it would be a VR type game, and you could do those things, but no, nothing. I mean, maybe it is. We don't see the video game.
Yeah, I'm surprised that. I mean, one of the cool things about the Matrix is them plugging you in through the back of your head. So I get why they would get rid of that. But this being 60 years in the future is like, it made me think like, oh, what if there's a way to enter the Matrix, but it is like do an Oculus kind of thing. It's not like, oh, I have to physically like shoot this thing into the back of my skull.
And we get a little bit of that with like the virtual reality. Like now your operator can be in the Matrix with you. And I don't know if you have to be plugged in as well, but I don't think so. But that was a fun little thing that I did like about this movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but back to the game thing. Like that could have been a real cool way to do it where like everyone in the Matrix is like because it is the biggest game of all time and they have all played it, like that's what makes getting people out harder because they all kind of think that maybe like, oh, I'm the one, like I've played this story, but like everyone in the Matrix knows the game, and so like whenever they're just like, oh well, we're taking you out of the Matrix, this is all a lie, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know, you could have done something with the concept of this game where people in the Matrix either think like they all think they're the one, or like, not that everyone thinks they're crazy, because obviously that would be ridiculous, but whenever they try and bring people out, they're feeling the same things that Neo is feeling, even though Neo has a stronger connection to it, because like this is literally his story. It's just the video game concept is just a wasted idea.
Yes.
It's very cool idea, but it wasted execution.
I agree. And then we get like the same birthing scene. We get Neo waking up in a pod, but it's so much worse looking. It's so cheap looking.
See, I thought all the pod stuff looked was some of the best shots in the movie.
Okay.
Now, I just think it was a little bit more CG maybe than the first. I did not rewatch the Matrix movie, so maybe I'm wrong. But I thought all the pod stuff worked for me. It was all the robots that they were like teamed up with that I thought looked kind of cheap.
Okay.
Like I did not really like the look of the bird robot.
Yeah, the bird and the weird flying cat looking one. What are, like when it's flying his body across the fields? Wow, that looked bad. That looked really silly. And what a dumb design for that weird cat squid looking thing. It's so ugly. And are those and this is one thing they've never talked about, like, are the Sentinels, are they like living programs? Are they aware of what they're doing and they just feel like they're soldiers and workers? Or is that an automated system sort of thing and the collective hive mind is something else? And it's like that just works remotely and we're our own thing. So is the bird, is that a program in the Matrix that in the real world that's their body and they're our friends, or is it just a mindless machine that we have reprogrammed or has woken up? Like, they don't go into detail about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine all the machines that are plugged in the Matrix all have, because they're all birthed from artificial intelligent robots, and from, if we're going off the lore of the Animatrix, like they all have sentience essentially. It's just when the war between humans and machines started, like they were all like, okay, like let's take care of the humans. And now that the war is over, this is what I was saying earlier about like this being a neat idea. It's just like, okay, there's an internal struggle within the machines. So I just imagine that they all have their own agendas if they really want to. It's just the Sentinels are the most like iconic villains, so I get why they would all just be like the soldiers who just work for whatever. But I don't know. It doesn't really seem like the robots or the machines have personality really, or like the ones that they interact with the humans a little bit, but you don't really know. Like I said, why? Yeah. It's like I like that the machines some of them teamed up with the humans, but what's the end goal? It's just like, oh, they were like, oh, cool, peace.
Yeah,
we got it. But why?
Yep. I wrote down he does a big Kamehameha. which that's pretty much all he does. He does a couple of kicks and punches, but most of the time he just holds his hands up and pushes things away or blocks things.
I think some of the fight choreography in this movie, well, most of the choreography I did not care for.
Yeah.
I think Keanu's age is really catching up with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they should do a John Wick 5. I think this last John Wick should be the last one.
Yeah.
And I think it was smart for them to just make him just use his powers as
Sure.
much as possible. But we have Marvel movies for that. Like, I want to see dudes do super cool kung fu stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get that, but it's all with this crew that I don't care about.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What is this crew?
Who?
And that's what I was going to ask. Name a single person on the crew. Name anyone, any new character. Give me a name. Who was the operator? Who's that chick with the weird hair? Like, in the real world, she's got tattoos, on her chest. But then in the Matrix, she has, the dumbest fucking hair. It's all slick and curls.
Yeah, her hair was bugging me.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Why you gotta look like the douchiest person when you're in the Matrix? Like, you can look like anybody, really.
Yeah.
It's a program. And you choose to look like that? Come on!
Yeah, and so much of these movies are like, oh, we need to be under the radar, but you all choose to look vastly different than any human walks around. If this was a society of BDSM weirdos, sure, I could buy that. Or you guys are constantly going into these underground punk clubs, but you're not. You're walking down Broadway and you're wearing ridiculous leather outfits and have stupid hair. The only one who looked cool was Bugs. And honestly, I liked her in this movie. I think I don't know why you disliked her so much. I thought she was actually one of the best parts of this movie.
Maybe.
That being said, who cares?
Yeah.
But I liked her, and I think she's good at
I couldn't
this.
understand half the things she was saying. Her accent,
Yeah.
and they speak so quickly about some of this stuff. I'm like, whatever. I don't know what's going on.
I didn't have a problem with her. I think she was one of the better parts of this movie.
Yeah, when you're in our real world, I was at the mall and I saw there was these two girls wearing cat girl ears and maid outfits.
Okay.
And it's okay, you stand out. That's when you're in the Matrix and you're wearing your leather jacket and your stupid sunglasses that stick to the middle of your nose, and people are gonna go, what the hell is up with that group of people?
Yeah.
A bunch of weirdos.
And if you're going into the video game route, you could do it in a way where all the background people, they're all essentially carbon copies. They're all wearing similar outfits. They all look the same essentially. You could do something like that. And so this is just a way for everyone to recognize okay, we're awake, so we look ridiculous, so we can recognize.
Okay.
I can get behind that idea, but at the same time, then everyone in the Matrix who isn't plugged in, agents, they would be able to spot you instantly.
Yeah.
But then I guess at the same time, when the agents show up, they already know you're here. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But if they know you're here, then you don't need to disguise yourself. And not disguise yourself, but you don't need to wear these dumb fucking outfits.
Yep.
And it's oh, we wear these kind of things because this is what we wear in the real world. You guys wear rags. You guys don't dress cool outside of the Matrix. So, and I get oh, I want to dress cool in the Matrix, but for who? Yeah. Why? It doesn't matter.
All right, so can you name a single person of this crew
I can't.
besides Bugs?
I can't because I didn't care about any of them but Bugs.
All right, so
and the movie doesn't make you care. So when they're getting attacked at the end and they're oh, we're gonna die, it's should I care?
I don't care.
And none of them did die. It's use them as fodder. In the first one, half the crew died or something, right? Or
all of them
except for
Tank.
Except for Tank, yeah.
All right, so we got Sequoia, Shepard, Funklon. It's got one of those little lines through the O.
Okay.
Berg, Lexi, Skroce, Skroce, Skrocky. Hanno or Hano, Elster, Quillian, Zen, Astra, Fiona.
These are just. This is everyone out.
This is just people
random.
in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was there's not this many people.
I don't recall any of these people. It was, you had the operator guy, you had the chick with the dumb hair, who I guess is Lexi, and then you had Shepard, the white dude who's of our time, not the year 4000 or whatever it's supposed to be in this movie. Yeah, this crew, stupid. You don't like the original movie. You're instantly endeared to everybody, and you got Tank and Dozer and Switch and Mouse and Apoc, and like they're all like fun in their own little mini ways. And these people, I could care less.
Yeah, who was the chick with the white hair in the first one? Was that
Switch?
That's Switch. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's like you didn't really get much time with her, but when Joe Pantoliano's character is like pulling people out, and she like just has a small little moment where she's just like, I think she just says like no, and then she's like,
she goes, no, not like this.
Yeah. But like I don't know, like that stuff kind of worked, even though like should you care about the character? No, she was basically there to get killed, so there's like stakes and stuff, but all that worked. And then here's this crew who you could kill off, and you just didn't. Not, I don't know.
They didn't kill off any of them.
Didn't kill off a single person. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't remember a single person dying.
And I saw on Twitter like Neo and Trinity never pick up a gun in this movie, which is interesting. But they also don't like put up their dukes as much either. It's all just big force pushes. That's all it is.
Because I mean, Trinity doesn't even become Trinity till the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, and they're just like, shit, we gotta make them turn into Trinity. Go!
Yeah, I mean the bike scene was kind of cool, I guess.
Sure, but we saw so much of it in the trailer that this being the final moment, especially with the helicopters and everything, not interesting.
Yeah. Well, what did you think about the humans' suicide bombing?
Awesome. Okay.
And I like that when they like splattered, it was like green digital
code. Yeah. Like, well, even I think this movie's rated R, so I don't know why they didn't just make it bloody. But anywho, one of my favorite things is the swarm.
Is it R?
I thought it was R.
I mean, it.
Yeah.
All the other ones I think were R, but If you told me it was PG-13, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The swarm idea is great. Just turn a bunch of people into crazy robot zombies and have them go after it. It did. With the people jumping out of the building did remind me of one of the Fast and the Furious when they're dumping all the cars off. So it's silly, it's ridiculous, but it's something new. It's different, and I like that.
In a movie that's all about sort of rehashing and kind of going like, oh, remember this? Like the special effects of the scene doesn't really hold up, but when I was a kid, like I love the scene where Neo fights 100 Agent Smiths in the
Burly Brawl
in the playground. It was just like such a cool, fun thing. And then here's your chance to sort of do something similar to that and have this really awesome fight where it's just like one guy or maybe just him and Trinity versus tons of people. Like it could have been a really cool scene, and then it's just like, nope, force push, which is like fine. It's just, but I wanted to see like just one really good action hand-to-hand fight scene, and we just didn't get that. Like, I mean, you can still do the force push, but I just want to see Neo like single-handedly, do the one shit. Yeah. And
in that first movie, when he like turns to the side and he just fights Smith with one hand, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's not the best fight scene, but it's so simplistic and you understand. It's very good visual storytelling. Zion is no longer Zion. It's called Io, which you just take the Z and N off of Zion and it's Io. But one thing I thought was kind of interesting is the Machine City is 0-1, so they're palindromes of each other because they look. Yeah, so that's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
Is that something?
I didn't realize they. Well, I thought it was a totally different city. I thought I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I thought she said that Zion is like either no more or.
Yeah, it's like closer to the core of the earth.
Yeah, this is a totally separate city that they just named Io, which I thought was just like, that's just lazy. You could have named it anything, and you just took Zion and dropped the Z and N. Like that. Yeah. That's dumb.
That almost seems like an Avengers thing where it's like Stark Tower, but the letters fall off and then the A is remaining. It's like they did the same thing with Zion.
It's just like if you're expanding on humanity, call this new city like Hope or not. I mean, it'd be real cheesy. I'm just saying that you could have called it anything. Sure. And I get you went with Io like 0-1-1 whatever. Like I understand the context of like, of course.
Yeah.
It's just, you could have named it anything and just seemed like such a...
Yeah.
We have Zion and Io. It's Zion, but without 2 letters. And that's the other thing. Like, it's so indistinguishable from Zion, except for the clouds. Like, this should have been the city that, like, brings color back.
Yeah, there should have been plants growing everywhere.
Or even if plants aren't growing, because they're just getting strawberries and stuff like that. Like... materials for paint might exist, right? I don't know how paint is created.
Cold metal. That's what.
But it's like there should have been, especially now that there's peace, there should have been people like, oh, we don't have to worry about dying every single day. I can focus on art and just like have people paint their houses whatever fucking color they want, because it's like, oh, this is a new beginning for us. We don't have to live in metal squalor. But nope.
All right. Let me ask, what is a modal?
Oh god, that drives me crazy.
Because they mention it a bunch of times at the beginning, and it's like, I don't know what that is. Is it a program within the game, or is it a program within the Matrix?
Yeah, they kept saying you're the one who like hacked
my modal.
My modal, which is I assumed it was just part of like his gaming program or something, but I just don't know if that was Keanu who couldn't pronounce a model.
No, they all say modal.
I know, but I've never heard that term before, and the whole time I was like, is this just a gaming term that they're leaning into or whatever? But I'm
so that intro scene with the redo of the first scene from the first movie with the fake Trinity, is that what was going on there? Was that a? It sounded like this is a training program to make agents better, but it also almost seemed like it was within the video game as well. I don't know.
Yeah, like why would the machines build this simulation within the Matrix of the events that it made for this video game to where people outside of the Matrix could interact with this simulation? That, I mean, could Neo be walking down the street and see this stuff happening? Is this like just part of like to make him crazy? But he never interacts with like different versions of this world. Yeah, I don't understand what that was. And if it is just a simulation to train agents, why do you need to train agents anyway?
Yeah,
aren't they just programmed to
do whatever?
Like,
I mean, in the second one, you do like Neo fights some agents, and he goes like upgrades. So it's like, sure, they could always evolve,
but it's like the whole point is humans can upload an entire helicopter manual into their brain within 5 minutes or whatever, but this super advanced computer system can't go like, okay, well now I can summon a gun in my hand, or whatever these agents do. It's like, why do they need to train?
Yeah,
you just upload the information and now they're trained.
And why are we training agents for this stuff? We're supposed to have peace. I don't get it. Which I'm going to go into because I have a rewrite, and I think it'll address some of the issues I have, but I'm also not a writer, and I don't have an ending. So
great, I'll come up with the ending.
Okay, cool.
It involves double anal. And I shall not be silenced. This is a must-have.
And I will take no questions.
No notes.
So Neo wakes up. He's back in Zion. You know, the crew is so happy that they found the one. I don't know why they need to find the one. There's no looming threat. There's no danger to Io. What is the rush? Because he shows up and Niobe's like, hey, just to be safe, we're going to put you in a little prison cell, you know, until we work this out.
And 10 seconds later is immediately out of it.
Yeah.
Which is like,
and they break him out like, come on, we got to go save Trinity. Why? Why are you...
Also, I don't really think it was a cell. I think she was just saying, you can't leave. It was just his apartment.
Absolutely, yeah. But what is the rush? Why do they have to go get Trinity right now? There's no invading forces. There's no, if we don't get Trinity, the Matrix is going to crash and we will lose everybody who's hooked into it. It's like, dude, hang out, talk to Niobe, find out what she wants from you, what your punishment is or whatever, and then maybe you can break the rules. But you just woke up and you're already trying to like fuck up the entire system?
I just took that as now that Neo's out, that Trinity's like their last asset, and they could do anything to her. They could build more fortress around her. They could kill her. They could do whatever. So like that was the speed. It's like, I need Trinity. Trinity is my other half. Like, we can't leave her there. I'm going back. Like that part didn't really bother me. Like, is there a purpose? Maybe not, other than I don't want to risk her in the hands of the machine, so I'm gonna go get her. That part didn't really. But in terms of rush to like save humanity or defeat machines or whatever, I don't know if that's what it was really about. So that part didn't really bug me. But if there was some rush, I didn't understand it, other than let's get her out, because why let her stay there?
Yeah, I didn't get their rebellion. It's like, this should have been something that you could probably talk to Niobe with. I don't know. Didn't like that.
The Niobe makeup, by the way, was rough.
Yeah. There was some better looking stuff in like Cloud Atlas, and they were like changing people's races. So I don't know why they couldn't just digitally do it. Yeah.
You know what I found interesting though? When they were out of the Matrix, you could tell that Keanu they made him look old.
Yeah.
And
especially with the shaved head and
especially
everything.
with the shaved head, he like looked like he was dying.
Because we haven't seen him with short hair and no beard in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised we even did that, because I thought that was the whole point of him having the long hair, and this was he was filming John Wick 4 at the same time. They wouldn't let him cut it. So if they were going to shave his head anyways, why not cut his hair short, get rid of the beard, and make him look like Neo? He just looks like John Wick. I'm sick of seeing Keanu Reeves as John Wick in everything.
Yeah.
Cut your freaking hair. You're an actor. You're supposed to do that.
I mean, that's probably why John Wick is now delayed until 2023. It's so he could grow his hair back. That's the sole reason.
And that's funny, because like before pandemic stuff, John Wick 4 and Matrix 4 were supposed to come out on the same day.
I didn't know that, but I saw that yesterday online. I was like,
and I remember looking like, why? What dumbass studio was doing this?
I saw a comment that said, like, what if the reason they did that was because they were secretly doing, like, oh, John Wick is a program, and, like, that's why, like, Tom Anderson is, like, good at Kung Fu, because he's just been, like, you do this, like, weird crossover.
Cross him over.
And I was like, well, I mean, Lawrence Fishburne is in John Wick 3, and, like, maybe you could, like, once again, that might be just a dumb idea as like a video game thing, or maybe it'd be genius. I don't really know. Yeah. But it'd be like, oh, that's fun. Yeah. At least.
Why not? And why is there 1,000 assassins in New York all getting the call at the same time and coming after John Wick at the end of 2? It's because they're their own programs,
Yeah, the amount of people that he killed, it's like, how does no one know that there's this secret society of assassins? Yeah. Like, the dude has killed 2,000 people in the span of a week in this universe, because from the first one to the last one, I don't know how long the time frame is.
It is like 10 days, max.
But yeah, it's not a long time, and he's on a murder spree, and no one seems to notice.
You would think at least like the coroners and stuff, they're like, wow, we have all these bodies. They don't really have records, because I would assume like if you're a hired assassin, you don't have kids, you don't have a real job or anything. So you'd get all these bodies in that have all these like kind of suspect past. This isn't the John Wick.
Yeah, who cares?
Let's go. Okay.
That being said, the John Wick movies are more fun than this one.
So. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see. What else do I have? I guess the only thing I have left was my final thing I wrote was just, what the fuck was that? I don't understand why this movie needed to be made. This story is not interesting, and it doesn't add anything to the Matrix. And just shows that it was only made because of pure nostalgia, and that's the trend right now.
Which I don't love.
No.
It's the trend right now, and it's not something I think that benefits movies or anybody but the studios who are making money. And I get it. You're a business, and you're in the business of making money.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's with DVD sales not allowing you to make a second box office that, you need sure things and
here's our sure
IPs.
thing where we get a at home release, same day release.
Well,
I know they didn't know that going in.
Yeah, you can't really help that.
It's kind of.
But yeah, I after watching Ghostbusters and me being one of the people who had issues, one of the only people who had issues with Spider-Man, and now this, I don't want to see anything do this kind of shit anymore.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to see something I like, or even if it, like, let's say you don't like the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, and you're like, okay, this is a chance for us to like have a fourth one and then do it right or start a new thing. But it's just a rehash of the first movie, but in a new way. I just don't care anymore. That being said, I wasn't bored in this movie. I thought it was perfectly fine. I didn't hate it. It just, why does it exist? It doesn't need to exist.
Yep.
So C-.
Okay.
Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't bored. I didn't dislike watching it. So for me, it was perfectly adequate watch. If you like The Matrix, check it out. I don't think you'll be like grossly disappointed. It just, you don't need it. I think you'll be disappointed in the fact that it's not a great movie. I just mean like it could have been much, much worse. And I think it is an adequate 2.5 hours, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, for a movie that is 2.5 hours, it has a lot of empty spots. You would think it's 2.5 hours. It's jam packed with all this stuff, and it really isn't.
Yeah,
it's got a light sprinkling of a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't say it's jam packed. I work with two people who are both like real big Matrix fans, and I can't wait for them to watch this because they're going to be heartbroken. Like one dude I work with, he watches The Matrix like once a month. He multiple times a year. It's just one of his, like, he puts it on in the background if he has nothing else to do. So I think he's gonna absolutely lose his mind because this ain't your daddy's Matrix.
Or he might be one of those people who just like is one of the defenders of it.
No. This is new and different, and it's not the older. This is a guy who like he rewatches the same shit over and over and over again because what he watches is good. Anything new is probably bad, and why watch it because, you know, I could waste my time watching a bad thing. And I always tell him, but you could be watching your next thing that you absolutely love and add it to your list of stuff. But he's very much
and this is why they make these movies.
Yes.
That's fucking terrible.
But then he's also the same person who's like, I'm obsessed with The Matrix. Are you going to go to see it in theaters? Nah. And it's like, he wants it. He's not going to pay for it. He'll wait for it till it's free.
Got it.
One of them. So
cinemas probably deserve to die. I don't want them to.
No,
especially after the pandemic. Like, the movie theater experience is the best way to see movies, and everyone should go to the theater.
I mean, not right now. I think Spider-Man and Matrix are going to be like super spreader events, and the Omicron is going to come and just it's like those two movies plus the holidays. We're fucked in the new year. 2022. I'm calling it worst COVID year to date.
I just meant when safety allows.
Yes.
Like, I don't want the theater going experience to go away, but
how about this? Everybody who goes to the movies, you have to buy 3 tickets. So you have 2 empty seats next to you, so you're playing safe and the movie's not losing out on money, huh?
Or you just buy 1 ticket in the theater, just makes those seats next to you.
Well, yeah, they should. Yeah, but they don't do that anymore. All right.
Not anymore.
So is there anything you would want from a sequel? Not maybe necessarily a sequel to this, but what could this movie have been that would make you like it more?
So some of the ideas I liked in this movie is some of the machines working with the humans. There is a separate machine war going on. Like, all that stuff I found interesting. I love the lore of this world. I want to see the lore expanded on. I want to see separate stories where it's not about Neo and Trinity. Like, the legend of Neo and Trinity can hang high over the franchise, because why wouldn't it? It's essentially, Neo's essentially their god. And or if you just bring Neo in and he's the gateway to this new trilogy about this crew who is, okay, we have this piece, it's worked for a while, but now there's rumblings like, okay, well, maybe we need to team up with the machines who are on this side or whatever, because there's this new Matrix, and if this works, none of us will ever get out again. So then it becomes humans and machines versus this rival set of machines. And you could do this sort of story, and it doesn't have to be about Neo. Or maybe it's, because they said Zion in the earlier movies, Zion has fallen a bunch of times. It's like, okay, well, like, Neo saved the world, but now is there a new one that comes up? And you could do something with that. It's not, and they'll be the new Neo, and you don't have to bring back Keanu Reeves because this is the new program or whatever. Or maybe, like, at the end of this one, you have multiple ones, and then you've established, or whatever. There's so much interesting stuff you could do in this world, and it's got such cool lore.
Yeah.
And then you just like, let's remake the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's the stuff that I would like to see, is less stuff in the Matrix, more stuff outside,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
But you very well go into the Matrix because that's what people want to see and do all the cool fly stuff. But I'd like to see more IO human stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve, I don't know if we are just, truly soulmates in the movie industry, but or we're just hacks and we think of the easiest, most obvious answer. Maybe a little A, a little B.
Sure.
But
I'd like to think that I'm a fucking genius and I'm underappreciated. But yeah, let's go with that.
Well, I have a lot of those ideas in my little mini rewrite, so I'm just gonna go for
Hit me
it.
with it.
All right, so it's peace. Neo has done what he was supposed to do. He went back to the source, was able to destroy Smith, and now
died for our sins.
Yes, our savior. An emissary is sent to Zion, a robot emissary.
Sure.
Maybe he even has that pin art nanotech
Cool.
look.
Like it.
Because that's where we get the where we get the idea or the tech to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, "Hey, Neo was right. We have peace," and they bring their bodies back. You could bury your saviors, but don't be in the Matrix at this time, and maybe it's a few years later, but because of all this one Smith virus stuff, we kind of have to do a soft reboot, and we're going to update and advance the timeline. So
that reminds me of something I want to talk about, but you can continue.
Okay. I mean, you can jump in at any time.
Oh, I was just going to say, so they kept talking about this purge that happened, and it wiped out certain programs, and you have this ridiculous Merovingian cameo who just is spouting,
a homeless person now.
Is a homeless person now. What was that about? There was just this area where, did you take away their powers, but they still remained functional programs?
I think so, because the Merovingian was all about information, and he controlled the train man, so he was able to get people in and out of the Matrix. So I think probably when this purge was happening, they hopped into a subfolder somewhere where it was safe, let it reboot, come back, and then realize, crap, we are still existing, but we don't have any of the abilities and knowledge that we had before. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was just the Merovingian's a fun character that people love to hate. Let's bring him back.
The whole time he was talking, I was just like, this guy's just Christoph Waltz. But he's French. Christoph Waltz is not French.
Yeah.
It's just they sounded so similar. It was bugging me because I was just like, oh, this would have, if Christoph Waltz was a bigger actor at this time, he would have fucking been the Merovingian,
for sure,
probably.
For sure.
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. So Zion, they mourn, they celebrate, and now that there's peace, it's time to start rebuilding and making Zion better. Maybe they're going back to the surface, and maybe there is a city where humans and robots can meet in the real world and it be a safe place. So yeah, everything's pretty hunky-dory.
Right.
Morpheus is elected leader and everything, and time goes on and we flourish and we're doing good. So machines don't need commerce or anything. And when we saw in the Second Renaissance, they had a big industry because they were manufacturing so much for the rest of the world and made the humans jealous, and their stock was so high, and yada yada yada. Well, they don't need that now that the humans are gone. It should be more of a hive mind type thing. They don't need physical bodies to be doing things. They have their sentinels to do manual labor and stuff like that. So now, even though the Matrix does power them, they're using it more as a neural network. And that's originally what the Wachowskis were going to do. That's why the machines put us in the Matrix, is because they were using us as a neural network. And I think that's a much more interesting thing than batteries. But they could use them as both. So now they have been enjoying the Matrix. They are actually able to use it as a resource to learn from the humans and see what it is to actually be alive, and they get to be in the Matrix and have families, maybe even with other machines or other humans and stuff. They are able to get they get it now. They understand the value of human life, and they're okay with this peace agreement because they enjoy being in the Matrix as well. But there is an uprising within the robot city. You have these machines that are like, no, humans are cattle. They are only good to power us, and like, yeah, you need the neural uplink or neural network. We need the neural network so we can evolve and be smarter and stuff like that. That's fine, but they need to be cowed. The Matrix is there not as a fun plaything for us. It's there to keep them producing energy. And don't forget, the humans struck first with nuking our city. Don't forget our past. The humans are the bad guys.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we took them over.
And I like that concept of there's rival factions of machines, because especially like, if the Matrix has existed for hundreds of years, or however long it's been, and like they have learned all this human stuff and they've gathered in this information, it's all shared and stuff, so it's like you said, like they understand what it is to be human and not just alive and sentient. And I like, what if the one who's like leading this rebellion is the first, or not necessarily the first robot, but the first president of what was the name of the city?
01?
Oh, 01 from the Second Renaissance or whatever. And he's just like...
I mean, they just call it the Machine City.
The Machine City? Okay, yeah.
Or actually, they're not machines anymore. They call them something else now, like entities or something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I imagine they don't really age or die or anything, so it's just like, this guy was there when this city was built. Like, I remember everything that maybe other robots don't, but if they have like sort of a hive mind thing, maybe they would. I don't know. But it reminds me of, and not that this should be a movie to really like aspire to, but Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Like, there's one scene that in that movie that I do like, and I like when it's the dying ape and they're like, break the jar, and then in the jar is a gun.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is what humans do.
Yeah.
And it's like, that kind of idea is cool. It's like, I will never forget what they did to us, like mass robot genocide or whatever. And I think that could be a cool concept to lean into.
I think that, so they are a smaller amount. I think the majority of the machines and whoever's running it, architect or no architect or whatever, they're all pro peace.
Right.
They're working for this. So it's just this like smaller extremist group of machines who want it to go back their own way. I'd like to see them when they're in the Matrix. They just take any old body. So it's not like you have one person represents us. It'd be kind of fun. You could just pull in and out any sort of person in the Matrix. You could have like, real tall person, short person, obese person, different colors and stuff.
Sure.
And it can make for some fun interactions and acting challenges. And I think they are, anytime there's like a mass shooting, a presidential assassination, something, it's these extreme programs that are just trying to rock the boat within the Matrix. Like, let's flip everything on its end, because the more damage we cause, we can like be killing their crops of humans, and if they have to constantly keep rebooting it and stuff, it's not a well-run machine, and so they're just coming in here to fuck shit up. And now the agents, they're hunting down the extremists, the extreme programs, and so now like the agents are kind of the good guys. They're not hunting humans dicking around in the Matrix, because we got peace. All right, back to Zion. So people being born in the real world are like super jealous of people who were taken out of the Matrix, because now that there's peace, you can go into the Matrix and live a double life, have a wife or something. You can pursue all the things you want to do, be an actor or a sports star, and it's kind of paradise in the Matrix for people who can jack back in, knowing that there are no threats and low consequences, it kind of becomes like this addictive, orgasmic thing, and people maybe start regretting taking the red pill. Even though they're able to go in and do this stuff, they like knowing it's fake. Maybe it's a little saddening as well. But so you have all these trueborn, I think is what I was calling them, these trueborn people, and they're like, well, fuck, we don't get to go into the Matrix and, jump across buildings and do bullet time and stuff like that. So that's why they created the VR program that the operators use. And that's the extent. They're only able to observe the Matrix. Everybody in there can't see them, only the people who are on your crew. And they start going up to the surface city, sanctuary city, and start talking to some of the machines and like, hey, can you put plugs in? Can we, go into the Matrix? And it's back alley deals and maybe they have to hide it. They grow their hair out long to hide their plugs because, this is a symbol of oppression that anybody who was woken up from the Matrix would see that, like, you're willingly wanting to be part of this thing. Like, how dare you? Let's see.
Because even in the first one, they established Joe Pantoliano's character. What was his name? So I don't have to say his full name. Cypher. Yeah, his whole thing was, I want to be in the Matrix 24/7. Like, this is the better world. Like, I want to live here, so I will sell out my crew to do that. So I imagine in the real world, like, especially during peace times, it's like, okay, well, if we can go into the Matrix, it's better than the real world. And if there's no threat from the machines, then this is what I want to do. And that's why they want to keep machines around, because maybe there's humans who are just like, well, what if we destroy the Matrix and then that kills all the humans that are in there, and then we can just repopulate society with the people we have? Which I don't know if they ever say, like, if they just kill everyone in the Matrix, does that kill all the humans in the pods, or that just like, so it's
if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life. So
yeah. So what if they just killed all the humans in the Matrix and then all their batteries are dead, and then that's how you defeat the machines, I guess.
Hey, Steve, we'll fucking get to it, all right? Why don't you shut your goddamn mouth?
I'm just saying. Okay, sorry. I was asking because I don't know if they ever talked about that. It's like, obviously they want to bring people out, like they'd be killing billions of humans, but it's like, if you're trying to get rid of the machines and there's already humans outside that you can give birth to, it's just like, all right, well.
But you're sacrificing all that human life, they're not about that.
I understand. I'm just saying, okay, tell your story.
So Smith does say, like, in earlier versions of the Matrix, it was a paradise and blah, 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 and they tried all these things, and, thousands of crops were lost in having to reboot and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a passing mention, but it's not really
I just wondered if the machines had a backup system in case the batteries, for whatever reason, went out.
I always found that weird. Like, you would think this high intellect AI would be able to figure out, I don't know, like cold fusion or something, or wind power. It's all very stormy on the surface. Why aren't they using wind
the electricity from the storm?
Well, yeah, and it's like the storm. I get it. Like, well, why don't you just go above the clouds and get the solar in? Well, if you've seen the sequel, even like the Nebuchadnezzar and stuff, try to go up. The storm is so bad it just kills any sort of machine. So I get that, but you would think that they would like. I would assume they have reserves as well.
Or even in the future, not necessarily clone things, but like develop organic material that they can suck energy from.
Sure.
I mean, they said in this movie that, their emotions or whatever make them stronger, or makes the battery stronger.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Whatever. If you say so. So yeah, so the people they're getting back alley plugs put in, and the people who are putting them in are some of the radical machines.
Okay.
They're using this as kind of like maybe a sleeper agent or something like that. All right. So I don't think you need Neo and Trinity for this movie, but it is a Matrix movie, and I think people would be pissed if you don't have.
You bring him in and kill him off.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not even bringing in Trinity. She's not needed. But for Neo, I don't even want Neo to wake up. I want him exactly in this movie. He's working his job. He's taken the blue pill. He has a psychosis, and his boss is Smith. I like that idea,
Okay.
and I'll get to that in a second. So Neo is super duper special, and because he balanced the Force in the last movies and went back to the source, so for those who don't know, Smith infects Neo and becomes a Smith clone, but because Neo is hooked up to the source, they're able to like purge Smith from the Matrix. Okay? And they had to reboot it and all that. But let's say they reboot it, and this little bit of Smith virus keeps sneaking through again. And like, what's going on? We don't understand. And they realize you have to have the one, and since it was Neo who was able to bring balance, they have to have his DNA, his code, or whatever. It has to be a presence within the Matrix to keep Smith at bay. So they just dump these two in this kind of video game company where Neo maybe he's always trying to break out, and so they give him that video game release as a way to kind of deal with it, because the one is so strong, he's always going to try to break free and blah 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 blah. But now you have the pills to keep him at bay, and I think you would still give him the psychiatrist, but don't make it an evil person. It's just a machine. It's like, no, this is my job, is to try to let the one be a normal person and not have a psychotic break, because that can break the Matrix again. So then with Smith, I think let's completely change his character. Make him love life now. Now that he is like in a body and he has all this excess and power and whatever, that he actually understands what it is to be a human, and especially when you have everything at your fingertips, and he loves it. And maybe he's aware of that he's a virus, or maybe not. But I like that there's just this yin yang of, Neo is, breaking down and Smith is like flourishing, and they just, if they stay within contact of each other, the Matrix is all hunky-dory. So I think these extremists, like I said, they could use any sort of physical form. They're not trying to make lives or even themselves known. They're kind of coming and going and doing these fucked up things. They don't want an avatar that reads specifically for them. And I think you should really play this up. Something they wanted to do with that character of Switch. Real world was a woman, in the Matrix was a man. Who you are and how you see yourself. And I never understood, it's like they always go with like the clothes of, oh, I'm so cool, this is what I wear in the Matrix. But what if you wanted to be a different gender, different race, different height, different anything? So it would be nice to see Morpheus and Niobe, who are, kind of running Zion, and they're older now. When they go into the Matrix, you don't need to put them in old age makeup. Now they're just young. That's their ideal selves. And I think you should really play that up. I like the idea of having an agent in the real world, with like, yeah, sure. I think you have maybe two of those, one that like works on the council with Morpheus and Niobe, and one that's on the ship, and one of them's going to be a mole, is going to be one of the extremists living in our world, getting information. And so that's like kind of like the basic framework of this movie. I think the extremists want to maybe kill Morpheus because like he was the person that found the one and everything, and if you kill Morpheus, Zion retaliates, and then the Machine City has to retaliate, and then the extremists get their way. Or I say they use Morpheus to, because like maybe Morpheus is aware that Neo is back in the Matrix, but he realizes this is just like a clone or whatever, because we have their bodies, and he just wants to check up on his old friend. But they have been tailing Morpheus, and they realize, oh shit, that's the one. We can take him out, and if we kill the one, then there's no yin-yang balance with Smith. Now Smith will kind of almost mutate and realize what he's supposed to do, and he infects the Matrix worse than it ever has. And it actually shuts everything down and kills everybody in the Matrix. So if you're caught in, like maybe you have like Morpheus and Niobe, they're running, they got to get to the cell phone, one goes, and then the Matrix shuts down, and we lose a bunch of our heroes in it. And because the Matrix shuts down, it kills all the crops. Every single human in every pod dies. And so the extremists are like, ha ha ha, what are you going to do now, Machine City? We have no humans and we only have so much backup power for ourselves. What are you going to do? I guess the only humans, aka batteries, left are in Zion. And so then they have to go and be like, sorry, we have to break this peace agreement, because if we don't, we'll die. And then that can maybe be your start of a trilogy, or maybe you could finish it in this or whatever.
Yeah.
Just kill Neo off. He never wakes up. He never does one stuff. He's just a clone body anyways, so he's just there to kind of keep balance, and then kill him off.
I like it. The only thing that this isn't necessarily just a different idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if or you have your machine extremists or whatever, and they're like, okay, well, we can't invade the city, but you know who can? Humans. So the machines are taking people out of their pods, and they're sending them into IO or whatever, and causing like a human versus human kind of war. But really, they're just sort of infected humans with robots. So you just, like, you release 1 million batteries or whatever, and so it does some damage and whatever. But then you have this invasion. It's like, oh, the machines are coming. It's like, wait, that's not machines. And then you just have these, this crazy human battle and stuff, and do something with that. Just another idea. I don't really have it fleshed out, but that could be a cool thing. It's just like, oh, we're fighting ourselves, sort of. It's like, oh, our whole thing is saving human lives, but we can't be taking human lives, but now they're just sacrificing, and then you just have the whole struggle and with that and stuff. But just a separate idea.
Yeah, I just want there to be a continuation of that story of, well, you did the thing, you won, so now there's peace. How does the world evolve past that? This is just like, oh, I'm Neil Patrick Harris and I'm evil. It's just such an uninteresting story.
So anyway, Wachowskis, if you want to give us a call, we'll write. We'll delete this Matrix from the program, and we'll write our own.
Now, the other way you can do this movie is you really just do a reboot, and you have a new one. You have a new Morpheus-type person. Don't call it Morpheus. Don't call it Trinity. And just kind of do it. But the problem with that is, because we have peace, I don't think we need the one anymore. So you would have to tell this story. Maybe it's the first one, the second one, the third, the ones before Neo. That could be interesting, but the problem with prequels is, how it ends up, so it's not as interesting. But fuck it, just make the machines go bad again, and just say, no, fuck your truce, and you do a Matrix again. That's all you really gotta do.
One last thing before we go that bothers me. We talked about it in Animatrix. It was just like, there's the one, and there's Trinity. And there's no number 2.
Yeah.
And so at the end of this one, Trinity also becomes a one-like figure. So now 1 has power, 3 has power. What about number 2?
I don't know. Maybe maybe Bugs will be 2.
It drives me crazy that there's 1, nothing, and then 3, and now there's 3 became 1 as well, or like, can number 2 be 0 and it'd be 101? Something I don't know what that is, a binary code. Something. It's a nitpick that doesn't matter at all, but it bugs me.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, and I saw someone mention how this is the second Warner Brothers property to reference themselves and a reboot within itself with Space Jam.
Yeah.
And you both have characters named Bugs in it.
And they're both based around video games.
And they're both awful. Hey, I know you took a risk, Warner Brothers, kind of put yourself out there, making your own company be the bad guys or whatever, but it's not working for you. Not at all. Not in any sort of way.
I just imagine a bunch of boardroom guys what's cool right now? Video games and nostalgia, and they're just oh, this is just thinking their ideas are so great.
They're us.
And, they're us, but they have no creativity.
Yeah, they're us on coke. Well, do you have anything else you want to say about this movie? Oh man, when they jumped off the building and she stopped in midair, that was really bad and stupid looking. Like, really stupid looking. She's just, like, dangling sideways. It'd be one thing if, like, he's going feet first, she's going head first, and, you know, they catch.
Right.
And so she's dangling there, and then she's able to flip upside down, still holding his hand, and then take off. But she's, like, sideways holding him. It just looks really stupid. And as a big final moment, it's pretty dumb. And the bullet time in this, awful. Like, Neil Patrick Harris's, like, their bullet time is just, it's slow-mo and wires again, but worse. And it's like, oh, it's extra slow. It's like, you thought bullet time was slow? No, this is even fucking slower. And it's just not interesting. Bad movie. Bad Lana Wachowski.
If you're a fan of The Matrix and you haven't seen it, watch The Animatrix. Yep. That's my only takeaway from this movie.
Watch the first trilogy.
There's cool movies in there.
Yep. All right. Well, next week, end of the year, or TV wrap up. What do you think?
I guess it just depends on how much you want to talk about the shows we've been watching, because there's a bunch of shows you and I have been watching that pretty much are ending simultaneously. Sunny just ended. Wheel of Time ends today. I don't think you haven't watched the...
No, I watched Wheel of Time.
Oh, you did watch it? Okay.
Sure did.
I haven't watched the final episode. I will be doing that later. Hawkeye is over, and I watched The Witcher, but we don't have to do a deep dive into The Witcher because there's not much I have to really say about The Witcher.
Well,
but
let's start with the TV stuff. And if we see that we don't have much to talk about, we'll do our best and worst of the year and looking forward.
Yeah.
And if that goes long, maybe I'll cut it into 2 or something. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
What else are we doing?
All right. So I guess, Steve, take us home.
If you want to ask us any questions or have any queries, comments, concerns, condemnations, words, then you can email us at WRPLpodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at WRPLpodcast. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks.
Hope you have a good one.
Yeah, thanks for...
'Tis the season.
I forgot to mention, we're up to 18 subscribers.
Ooh.
Yeah. With 26 videos, we have 18
Thanks,
subscribers.
guys.
Yeah.
That's the best Christmas present so far.
Yeah.
Considering it's not Christmas yet, and I haven't gotten any.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I don't think we'll get another one up before the New Year, but maybe I'll do a throw This Meets That up or something like that.
Sure.
Well, thanks again for tuning in and listening to us ramble about things. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Merry Christmas.
You filthy animal.